Right, my troops, how's your weekend gone? Oh, hope yous were all good and behaving yourselves like me. Change days, innit? Um, Back to my classes tomorrow. I've hardly been all week. And I've got some volunteering stuff this week as well, I think. So, and I need to go food shopping tomorrow. So, busy. No good. But I've been researching this subject for a wee bit, and I kind of stumbled upon it through watching old Crime Watch videos, and it involves a really high profile case. But some of you might not remember it, but obviously I remember it because it was this case happened like a few months after the death of my father, right? So it was the summer of 1996. So I'd have been a schoolboy at the time, about 14 or something. And it was the it was known as the Chillenden murders. Now Chillenden is a small village in Kent, beautiful countryside, rural, all that stuff. It's about 30 miles outside Canterbury, I think. And it involves Lynn, Megan, and Josie Russell. Lynn Russell um, was walking her kids home from school with her pet dog, and while walking through a country lane, um, her and her two daughters, and 9-year-old Josie, and I believe Megan, the youngest, was about 6. They were accosted in this lane by a man, an unidentified male in a car. Excuse me, I'm tired. Oh. Um, who got out the car and was acting menacingly, demanding money. And while the mother has said she would go home and get this guy some money, she's protesting she doesn't have money. She's like, I'll go home and get you some. But Josie Russell has ran, and this unidentified offender has chased this wee lassie, marched the family into the wooded area off this country road, tied them with strips of towel, and bludgeoned the mother, the young sister, and the older sister, right? And hung the dog by its leash from a tree. Now, Josie Russell was the only survivor of this attack. Her mum and her sister died. Um, and the scene, for what I've read, as you can imagine, sorry, was just a nightmare. I believe that um, it was overkill. At least 20 blows with a claw hammer, any blow of which was powerful enough to kill. Now think about that for a minute. The first strike, the very first strike, the first of 20 strikes, blows to the head, was enough to kill, but he kept going, right? So it tells you something about him, right? But fortunately, well, it's kind of bittersweet that somebody survived, you know what I mean? Innocent innocent people. the kind of victimology, people who are in the high risk of violence, high risk of being targeted for crime. It's not like they're gangsters leaving a pub at night or going down an alley, or a prostitute who's getting in a car with some unknown guy, whatever. These are decent people, I believe. The mother and the parents of these two young girls were respectable academics. I believe the father was a botanist, and the mother, be lying if I said I remembered. So, middle class, decent people, you know what I mean? So this was major when it happened, right? It was never off the TV, constantly in the newspapers, front page shit. Because you remember, internet wasn't really a thing then. Obviously there was the internet, but it wasn't like everybody had it in their gaff. Fucking hell, man. Oh, yawning, mate. So newspapers and TV were the main conduits of information back then, right? And I remember like reading about this all the time and seeing it and going, fuck's sake. Like, no, a year, so this was July 9th, 1996 that this murder happened. And it wasn't until about July the following year that somebody was apprehended for this. A guy by the name of Michael Stone. Now, I remember seeing pictures of this guy in the paper and thinking, you look like the type of person who would have done this, but it's what they always say in serial killer investigations, right? They always say if serial killers had horns on their head and fucking blood dripping from their teeth, we would know who they were, so we would avoid them or do worse, you know the way it is, right? But they don't. This is why they're so effective at what they're doing. Obviously, when you categorise them into organised and disorganised, fucking hell, can't stop yawning. Oh, fucking hell. Sorry. When you categorise them into organised and disorganised, right, your disorganised ones are like your erratic, maybe even psychotic, mentally ill, reclusive, no girlfriend, maybe staying with their parents, maybe their mum, the oddball type, but they would leave evidence all over the fucking place, right? A trail of breadcrumbs leading right back to them. But the organised types, they're the ones that blend right in. They look like your wee computer geek. The guy who sells you insurance. Take your pick. You know what I mean? You can the smile, the charm, the glib superficial shit. You know what I mean? Just very, very cunning and manipulative. You wouldn't. The last person you would think had committed a crime like this. The guy that's the pastor. You get the fucking gist. You know what I mean? But when I was watching, so I made a video. So right, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Michael Stone was tried and convicted, and there was a lot of shit that came out at trial about him. Right, it was no angel by any fucking stretch of the imagination. He was a career criminal, drug abuser, domestic violence, glutton, impoverished background, just in children's homes. A lot of family and friends had said they had seen him being violent. There was, I believe, he had threatened somebody with a hammer. So right away, with a high profile murder like this, especially a year later, right? I don't care what MD says, see when it comes to crimes like this, the cops are under heavy pressure, right, to solve that. Heavy pressure. And I can imagine back then, if it's like a year later, you would no try to like dead or drove them, you know what I mean? I'm not a fucking cop, know what I mean? But if you put yourself in their shoes, you would imagine after a year it's like, what? He pulled a hammer out in some cunt? Yeah, it must be him. You know what I'm talking about? Many miscarriages of justice you heard where they're making the evidence fit the crime, no the crime fit the evidence, or the other way about. I can't mind what it is they say, right? Something like that. Some mad saying that they have, or the suspect fit the evidence, whatever it is, right? It's like trying to fit a square peg in a triangle hole, if you get what I'm saying. But I don't really look at it a lot of the times, unless there's blatant evidence, right? And there wasn't any forensic evidence on this guy at all, right? There was a lot of circumstantial evidence. I mean, a lot, right? And it was all kind of witness statements that, oh, I remember he pulled a hammer out on somebody, and I remember he battered his bird, and remember he robbed somebody for a lawnmower, see all this kind of shit, right? But violent guy by all stretches of the imagination, but somebody to me who is a career heroin user and a career criminal doesn't just wake up one day and drive like 30 miles for his fucking address, stop country lanes, and just bludgeon a family to death in a dog, hang a dog for a tree, right? Possible, but to me, it's a bit flimsy, man. And I don't know. And when he went to court, I believe that there was a guy by the name of Damien Daly, right, who was imprisoned with Michael Stone in, I think it was Canterbury prison, and he was claiming that Michael Stone confessed to him, which I don't believe for a fucking second, right? And it reminded me of the Paul Ferris trial for the Thompson Jr. murder, where some guy was claiming that Ferris was shouting out the window that he committed this murder, like, MD that's ever been in prison knows that anybody like him, anybody that's high profile, never talks about their crime. They don't expect, well, no to somebody they don't know, you just don't dare. Know what I mean? You don't ask people shit like that, and they don't tell you. So I was like, know what I mean? But the irony is that Damien Daly himself was convicted of murder like 10 years ago or some shit, so fucking nuts. But back to this one. So Michael Stone has always protested his innocence. I'm sure he's had about 3 retrials. I'm sure he's appealing, and he's looking at I think he's trying to get referred to the Criminal Cases Review Commission and all this kind of stuff, right? So I'm not going to go into all this appeal shit and all that, because that's not what I really want to cover. What I'm really looking to cover is what kind of person would have committed this offence, right? And when I was looking at the video that I did about serial killer in the southwest of England, right? Devon, Cornwall, down that direction. What I found was the geographical locations, the victimology, the MO, and the signature were almost, to me, identical. Now I'll get into that. So, you've 14-year-old Kate Bichelle, right? Walking her dog, November 1997, in Exeter, Devon, right? Walking down a lane, a secluded lane, bordered by big open fields, right? Big fields. And she's no returned home. And she's been found with catastrophic knife injuries to her neck, her throat's been slit, right? And witnesses had said that there was two descriptions. There was somebody said they'd seen a tent in a field, right? A vagrant had been staying in a field, and somebody else had said they had drove past a parked car on a lane, and some guy like hunched over at the back, at the rear of the car, right? Or the van, whatever it was, the vehicle. To me, that van is the person I would be looking to speak to if I was a cop. No, the vagrant obviously as well, right? But he would be secondary to me. But it was this was just over a year after the Russell murders. So the Russell murders was July 96 and Kate Bichelle was November 97, right? So fast forward to October 1998, no far from where Kate Bichelle was killed, Roseland Peninsula, Cornwall, kind of remote country lane. Lynn Bryant's attacked, and I explained how she was walking her dog as well and was found at a gated area with a big farmer's gate leading into this big field. She was found there, murdered, right? Stabbed to death. And this was the one that was creepy. They'd found her glasses there like 4 months later or something. Creepy shit. So the thing with that is there was a couple of months later, there was an unidentified 42-year-old female attacked with her 17-year-old daughter. It was Netherton, Devon, right? It was like New Year's Eve 1998, and this unidentified male drove up, got out the car, threatened them with a knife, put them in the car, abducted them. But while they drove away, they've tried to fight their way out the car, and he's pulled a knife, tried to slash them. No, in fact, he didn't try, he succeeded. But he got away, right? And the funny thing with all this to me is that the geographical profiling in the MO victimology, the signature in the Russell murders, Kate Bichelle, Lynn Bryant, and the unidentified 42-year-old female in Netherton with her 17-year-old daughter, they all match, right? But no just that. Josie Russell, who survived the attack, gave a description of her attacker, and it was like 5'8", round face, fair hair, and medium build. Interestingly, which is the same description of the attacker and the unidentified woman and her daughter in Netherton, which I believe is the killer of Kate Bichelle and Lynn Bryant. Now, when you look at all these attacks, country lanes, open fields bordering them, walking their dogs, the victimology is the same. It's kind of middle class women out walking the kids, out walking their dogs in rural areas. And the level of violence is off the charts. It's not just, this isn't some junkie or some vagrant fucking pitching a tent. This is somebody who blends in that well, that he's gone undetected this long. I wouldn't. So what we're talking over. We're talking about 30 years ago or something. So I would say he's got to be in at least his 60s by now, right? If he's no dead or in prison. I would say that probably blue collar worker. I would put money on it. He's get kids, grandkids. Because that's helps them blend in. Not just saying that he's having kids to blend in. Know what I mean? But I would stake it on it. Know what I mean? But the thing is, the description of the vehicles in all these attacks are all different vehicles. There's no, it's like there's a blue van, a beige car, a white fucking whatever. So it's all different. So that might suggest somebody who either trades car, like no as a job, like he goes to the fucking car market, changes his motor, I change my socks, whatever. Or somebody that's got access to multiple vehicles for work. And when you look at the geographical kind of, the kind of spatial shit of this whole thing, you've got Kent away up here, Devon and Cornwall away down here, so that's like opposite ends of the south coast. But it's not out with the realms of possibility that that's not the same person. It's like, oh, that one was in Kent, that one was Devon, it can't be the same person. This guy's mobile, which has been proved by the other attacks that even the cops are saying they think are linked. Do you know what I mean? And I pure stumbled on that by watching an old Crime Watch video, and when I seen Josie Russell's description of the attacker and which she said happened, I was like, that's too. I just don't believe in coincidences when it comes to serial offenders at all, mate. Be different if one was in Germany and one was in fucking China or something, but no, just fucking 100 miles along the coast. Do you know what I mean? No chance, man. Obviously, it's possible that it's a different attacker, and you might say, oh, but the Russells were attacked with a hammer and they were all attacked with knives. Maybe this is the thing, right? Criminals change the MO, the modus operandi, how they commit the crime, i.e., no what, fucking, that hammer, I didn't like the noise or whatever, right? Gotta use a knife, it's quieter, know what I mean? Whatever. That's the MO, no the signature. The violence is the signature. That's what he has today to feel good about himself, turned on, whatever the fuck it is. And even the cops were saying in the Kate Bushell and Lion Bryant murders, they believe it's sexually motivated, which I believe too. But if that's sexually motivated, then what you're looking at is a sexual psychopath, a sexual sadist, somebody who is just seriously turned on with seeing the terror in the face of a human being, realising they're about to die. Fucking just like a human shark. Somebody that, in my opinion, needs put down, know what I mean? Shouldn't be walking the streets. But the funny thing is, at the Russell scene, there was a bloody fingerprint found on a lunchbox, a school lunchbox, but the lunchbox was inside a bag. That fingerprint wasn't identified, even to the guy, Michael Stone, who's in prison for that, which I think is highly sus, because if that fingerprint doesn't belong to the victims, or it wasn't one of the forensic people or cops making a fuck up, then that is the killer's fingerprint. Because how could it have been in blood? You would have had to have been there at the time of the crime. Do you know what I'm talking about? So, heavy fucking Heavy sus. And another thing I know, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a guy Levi Belfield, right? He was a serial killer who was driving about bludgeoning young lassies to death with hammers around about the early 2000s, right? And he had actually obviously been a hammer killer. You're going to suspect him, especially if he doesn't have any sort of alibi. And I believe that he had confessed to it, but I would take it, and that cunt says with a pinch of salt, the fat beast, know what I mean? But there's just something about all that, the geographical kind of profile, the country lanes, the big open fields, rural wee villages, do you know what I mean? Offenders pick places where they're comfortable, and you're not going to find high crime rates in these places. You're going to find you're no well to do, you know what I mean? You're quiet. We've all been through wee towns and villages, no? Aye, some are mental, but no, these places, he's picking these places for a reason, do you know what I mean? And summing up, I think it's a very, very good chance that whoever attacked the Russells could have killed Kate Bushell and Lynn Bryant and attacked this woman and her 17-year-old daughter. Because it's all within a specific time frame as well, do you know what I mean? It's just to me it's too obvious to ignore. But obviously I've not got the kind of resources and shit to go and do anything about it. Know that I would, you know what I mean? But am I the only person seeing this? I don't know. And I hope that if this person is still alive, that he'll get what's coming to him. Either way, you know what I mean? But I'm going to leave it there anyway, so cheers for listening. Got to get a wee drink of juice, go and chill, watch the telly, man. Get my Wayne's shit ready for school, so you take care and cheers for listening, and I will speak to you next time I'm back on. Good night.